Hello, everybody. This is Aronos, and I thought we'd try something a little different today. I'm going to be testing out Chromie, the newest addition to Heroes of the Storm, and just look at her. Pretty kick-ass. Um, what I like to do is anytime a new hero comes out, I always go into try mode and always set this to level 1. And the reason I do that is so I can judge how hard she actually hits during the early laning phases. So I kind of do like level 1, then level 10, and then level 20, um, just to see how she hits in the early game as well as like how strong some of her skills are. Now, I did play with her a little bit before this video, just a fair heads up. And I love her. She's freaking fantastic. Um, but I will go into that more in depth. And as you can see, like at level 1, she's doing around 76 damage, which, is pretty low, but your main power does not come from auto attacks. It comes from the devastation of a lot of her skills. So at level 1, now, since I've already looked at her quite a bit, I've noticed that she has a few builds and they're kind of already set up through the skills in her talent tree here. Which you can again go for the Sandblast build. You can go for a Dragon's Breath build for even more damage but harder to pull off. And it drains more mana, of course. Time Trap, I'll go into that a little bit too, as well as a few extra like talents because she's got questing talents, which are pretty cool. So we'll start things off here at level 1. She's got Compounding Ether. It's a quest, and after hitting heroes with Sandblast, you gain an extra amount of damage. Deep breathing um, with I believe it's Dragon's Breath. Gotta start remembering these. Dragon's Breath, and every time you hit a hero, it goes up by 2, up to 50, and when you reach it, you gain an extra 150, and your sight radius goes up. So this is actually pretty important, and one of the reasons why I take this talent above the others is because you gain 100% bonus to your sight radius. And you can already see my sight radius right here. And once you accomplish this, it'll pretty much double, and I think it goes out to like here. It's pretty significant, especially because a lot of her talents go past her sight radius anyway. Having that extra boost to the sight does wonders, especially in team fights or where poking is important. Then she's got Time Walker's Pursuit here, another quest for regen globes and your mana regen. Um, Usually, if you're playing pretty safely, you're not going to run out of mana unless the team fights go extremely long. So I kind of avoid this, but I could understand people taking it, especially if there's a map that has a lot of globes. It's all right. I mean, and you also gain 5% ability power, which is probably the main reason people would take this talent. Um, and then peer into the future, which again is kind of like a scouting drone, or on Rhaegar, I think he had that. I don't know if he still does. It's been a while since I played Rhaegar, to be honest. And basically, it's global, and you choose any place you want to look, and you can cast it, and again, you'll get vision in that radius. And it's got a 25-second cooldown, which is pretty low, really good for objective base maps or maps where there's lots of hiding places. Um, so not too bad here. Let's go ahead and reset. But what I go with usually is deep breathing because the Dragon's Breath ability just does so much damage, especially in the late game. Look, at level 1, it's already doing 458. And as well as the Sandblast is only doing 400. So it's like a 50 difference, except this Sandblast is a lot harder to hit than the Dragon's Breath is. So that's why I kind of go with deep breathing. Or you can go Time Walkers if you want that 5% ability power and you have a map where you can easily get 15 globes. And 15s, you usually should be able to get that in 10 minutes. So let's go deep breathing. And let's see how much damage she actually does to the minions. So if you're laning with her or solo laning, she does all right. Again, you have to watch out because her health is extremely low. I'm talking like Tracer level low. But with one Dragon's Breath, we almost killed the middle minion, the mage, and pretty much one auto attack or two from the rest of these minions. You don't even need to waste another Dragon's Breath on it, even though in a normal laning phase, the cooldown's 14 seconds. So, you might get off a second one in time. But again, if you're playing safe, you could even stay way back here to your towers and be fine. So so what you theoretically could do is just kind of like either poke or wait, or if you're dual laning, you should be all right too. But see how long this cooldown is? Yeah. So um, all right. So let's go up to level 10 here, and we'll take a look at some of the other talents here. So again, deep breathing. Then we got piercing sands. So your sandblast will now hit 2 targets if they're lined up in a row. I'm actually going to keep this on. Um, so it's, I mean, I'll talk about merking, but to be honest, she sucks at merking. She just has far too less health. The sandblast will not hit mercs or bosses, or it won't. I think it still hits the dragon and the garden terror. But yeah, she does piddly damage. And look, with one volley, I'm already like a third health gone. So I would not recommend merking with her at all. Get a partner, have somebody help you. But piercing sands is really good, especially if you're doing the sandblast build. And hitting multiple targets is extremely important, especially if they're all going to be clumped up or there's a backline that you need to hit. It's sensible. I would take it if you're going a sandblast build. Bronze talons, however, I'll talk about in a minute, but let's look at enveloping assault. So this increases your radius of the dragon's breath by 25%. So if I just look at the normal radius on a hero, it's this big. And if you go enveloping assault, it is now this big. So huge increase, especially for groups or when you're fighting in a crowded team. Um, and they're all going to clump up, or if you got divers, it's not that great for poking. Um, and if I reset this real quick, if we look at the minion wave, you can hit almost all the minions with the default radius anyway. So if I'm out here and I target kind of this middle area, you should be able to hit almost all the minions with the default radius. So I would not take this if you're planning on trying to hit all the minions in the wave. Yeah, it'll hit them all, no problem if you go the enveloped assault, but you don't need it. It's not really recommended for laning because you can hit them all just fine without it. Um, but I guess if you're not that good with lining up your shots or hitting, I would go and take it. So see, um, if you go a Dragon's Breath build, would you take it? Again, I think it depends on what the enemy team is running, what their comp is, or how grouped up the enemy might be over an objective. But if the real power, I think, actually comes from Bronze Talons. So let's look at Bronze Talons. It increases your basic attack range, and whenever you used Sandblast, it increases the damage of your attack by 250%. So you don't even have to hit an enemy, I think. So this is my normal attack range. If you look at it, I'm kind of right by the dummy here. And with the increase, I can now hit things from past the dummy. So it's a little bit of an increase, but all that makes the difference, especially when you're trying to play safe, especially with her low health again. And that bonus. So my normal attack right now at level 10 is 108. And if you use the dragon's breath, 378, and you don't even have to hit an enemy with it. See? So even if you miss an enemy, you're still getting almost double. I think it is actually double. 250% increase on an auto attack. And that works for mercs. It works for everything. So even if you don't hit a hero with the Sandblast because it's restricted by heroes, it still does that extra 250% damage, and you get the bonus attack range to play it more safe. Yeah, Piercing Sands is still really good if you're doing the sand build, and I would recommend Piercing Sands. But if you're going to go with a Dragon's Breath build and the comp is more scattered, or you're just going to be poking anyway, you might as well go Bronze Talons because it will help tremendously. And it even helps when you're merking or helping out your teammates in that regard for the camps. Level 6. Mobius Loop. It reduces the mana cost and the cooldown, but it also reduces its damage. To be honest, it's kind of like you'd think it's an even trade-off because you're sacrificing a little bit of damage for half the cooldown. So instead of 14 seconds, it's every 7 seconds you do 650 damage. Keep in mind with deep breathing, it'll be doing even more damage on top of that. Um, but your damage is reduced. So if you're not able to hit or you went with the enveloping assault where you do get more hits, then I can see people taking Mobius Loop just to help with the mana costs, as well as being able to just poke better. Maybe not kill faster, but you can still poke a lot better as well. Um, then we've got Dragon's Eye. So your breath does 25% more damage to enemies in the center. Um, it doesn't have a center radius now, but as soon as we take it, you'll notice there's a small ring here, and anything that we hit inside that ring, or I think even barely touching, it'll count for the extra damage. So if it's outside the ring, 652, and I think that actually counted. It's pretty forgiving, I've noticed. Um, so 652 is the main damage, and if they're in the center, you're looking at 822. So it's an extra like 200 damage for hitting targets in the middle. Now you may be thinking, well, if I took the increase in radius, would that increase my center sphere? No, it doesn't. I've already tested it. It's the exact same size. Whether or not you take this, you will not gain a bigger radius in the center. It's going to be that same size. And then you've also got Chrono Sickness. So let me just go back here real quick. Chrono Sickness reduces the cooldown on your time trap, and after it ends, the enemy is also slowed. Now, I didn't really talk about time trap, and for one reason is because it's not that good. It's only good in a more team-related environment or when you're playing team play, but in a solo queue, pulling a proper time trap off and people capitalizing on it is very rare. And I mean, I'm rank 10 right now in ranked play. And in QM, I have no idea what my MMR is. It's usually around 2,500 to 3,000. But since you're only allowed one of them out anyway, um, at least at this tier, having that cooldown reduction takes it down to 9 seconds, which is pretty good. And when we go into level 19 with the anomaly, it's pretty good too if you're going to go that route. Or even to trap pesky Illidan's or anybody else who may be like trying to gank you or whatever. Um, but the slow amount on it, which is the primary reason you might want to take it, 40% for 3 seconds is not very good. So I don't think I can actually get this Arthas to kind of leave here. Let me see. Get him to kind of head in. I see he's not even going to go for it. What a loser. Let's put it out here maybe. Get him to kind of run away again. Oh, he's just going to die. Uh, oh, wait. Oh, we had him. Yeah, I mean, I don't notice much of a slow amount. Feel free to take it though, obviously, if you're going to try and go with abnormal and horror and door hall anomaly. Sorry. um, but otherwise, I kind of avoid it. It's not necessary. And for her master at poking and damage from afar, this cooldown, as well as that slow percent, isn't going to matter much, especially when you've got two much better talents here for being aggressive. But, it's not bad. I'm just saying it's, I prefer like Dragon's Eye probably. So we're going to go Dragon's Eye. All right, next we've got her alts, which she gets at level 9. So remember when you're playing her, she gains all of her abilities one level earlier. So as soon as you reach level 9, grab your alt. So these are actually really cool. Slowing Sands, I'll talk about in a second. It's pretty simple. So I'm going to go with Temporal Loop first to kind of show you how it works. But essentially, it is a time rewind ability, and it only works for enemy heroes. So you have to hit them, and they'll try to run away, and they'll come right back, and you'll be able to dish out more punishment or allow you to escape easier. The 70-second cooldown is okay. I mean, you're probably going to use it just the once, so you want to save it for team fights, which is probably why you use it, or to help you escape. So again, if like Mr. Arthas here is really trying to kill you, and you want him to kind of like leave, You're trying to run from him. It'll give you plenty of time to get away, especially if somebody's chasing you in that regard. And it's a point and click, so you don't even have to aim it. So it's got this huge ass radius, so you can stay all the way back in a team fight, hitting people from afar, doing all sorts of things. Even if it's not directly for you, you can still hit somebody with it from far away and impact your team in that regard. So it is really good. It's a lot harder to pull off than her other alternative, slowing sands, but it requires a lot of practice and timing it effectively, both for offensive and defensive. Her other ability, however, is much easier, and I have a feeling people are going to take it at least 75% of the time, um, which is slowing sands. So slowing sands is a um, slow over seconds. So what I mean is you cast it and forget it. So basically, as long as it is around, it'll be ticking down on your mana cost. So her mana is 600. As long as it's out, it is going to be ticking for well, now it actually doesn't show it, but it ticks for 4 mana a second. Her regen, I actually noticed this. Her regen matches what the slowing sands is, especially when you hit level 10 or whatever. So once it's out, even if you don't cast anything, you can keep it out indefinitely and your mana is not going to change. See? So you want to kind of cast that before you do anything else in a team fight. Or if there's chokeholds or anything else, and the cooldown is 5 seconds. So even if I didn't have this on and I cast it, and I'm running away, or I cancel it and then I want to re-put it somewhere where somebody else is coming, it's got a 5 second cooldown, which is fantastic. So pretty marvelous. It doesn't do any damage. It's just a slow effect. So 50% over 5 seconds, and again, it's really good for either aggressive plays or defensive plays, and that's why I love any ability that kind of has that role. If an ability has both offensive use and defensive use, I usually pick it, a little bit more than I would any other ability. All right, let's go with level 12. We've got Bye Bye, so it reduces the cast time of your Hearthstone by 75%. So normal Hearthstone casting is, I believe, 5 seconds or something like that. So, 1,000. Well, let me fix that. 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000. It's around 5 seconds, give or take a little bit. Not too bad. But Bye Bye, especially if you're going to be, starved for mana and you find yourself constantly running low on mana, obviously, if you don't take Time Walker's Pursuit, this is another reason I don't take it, because if you take Bye Bye, you don't even have to worry about mana. So, and she does get a mount, so it's not like she's mountless and can't get back into the fight as easily. But, if you take Bye Bye, now you're gone in freaking like 1 second. Look at that. It's insane, and works wonders for larger maps, or if you're just running out of mana, like you're just going hard engage all the time, or spamming everything, or leaving your slowing sands out. This will give you huge leeway to where you can just kind of like leave the fight. And if you're in the back of your team poking away, all of a sudden the enemies come after you, or you did your time stopper, they get caught, then you basically Hearthstone and you're gone by the time they come out from that. The other abilities are, let's see here, reaching through time, so it increases your Sandblast and Dragon's Breath range. Now, her range I already talked about was pretty substantial outside her sight radius, and with this increase, it's going to be through the roof. Like I'm talking like really far, especially when you get your deep breathing reward of an extra 100% on your sight radius, and then you combo that with the extra range, you can now suddenly hit things from pretty far away. So, for example, my Dragon's Breath can hit this dummy out here. Like even if, let's see if I can put the line out there a little bit. Right here on the dummy, and you go reaching through time. Look at that. Holy hell. It's like almost a full circle or two outside that. That's freaking huge. And look at the Sandblast. Look at that. Ridiculous. And you can hit that anywhere. Oh, freaking crazy. Now, is this, reliable or going to be used a lot? I don't know. For poking strategies, sure. I mean, Lenara, when she came out, she had huge sight radius and attack range, and everybody was like, oh, wow, this might be OP. She can poke from really far away. No, she's no longer the poking queen. Chromie is the poking queen. Look at this. Freaking insane. And if you can time it very well, it's insane too. Now, I don't actually choose it, funny enough. Um, and I'll show you why here. Because timeout is probably the even more important ability. So timeout is a 60-second activatable ability, and it puts you in a stasis of invulnerability for up to 7 seconds. So kind of just like a bunch of other people's like Ice Blocks and Rexar's Feign Death, you cast it when something's bad's going to happen, or you get caught in an alt combo, wombo combo or something. Um, and the enemy's barreling down on you, or you need to avoid like a maw or anything. Basically, you go into timeout and you get to choose when you want to come out. I mean, 7 seconds is a pretty long ass time, and throughout that whole time, you can use it to avoid stuff. So I think it's actually the best ability in regards to any of those invulnerable abilities or stasis abilities that some of the other heroes have, because it's 7 seconds, and I think 60, maybe the other ones might be a little less than 60, I'm not sure, but it's 7 seconds, which, you know, good thing it's not like it's 7 seconds or else, like Dahaka's one where he's stuck in the ground. But, you pop it, avoid the attack, get out. Or pop it, maybe you had a trap first, they get caught, you get caught or something, and then you can, escape that way. Um, Huge, 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 huge. I have a feeling this and maybe even Bye Bye are going to be taken probably more than Reaching Through Time because she already has the range. Like, you can already hit people pretty far away. I don't know if the extra is going to make that much of a difference in the long run, especially if you're already playing safe. Now, if you're a Chromie who's going to be engaging a lot more with auto attacks for some reason, you know, or your comp is set like that to where you constantly are being getting dived or something, then you want to play a little bit more safe, maybe. But I think all of these are actually really good. But the choice is obviously yours. Level 15, we've got Shifting Sands. Let me go ahead and increase my level here. All right, so we got Shifting Sands. So when you hit an enemy with Sandblast, it increases your ability power by 10% for the next 10 seconds, and it can be stacked up to 50, and it's refreshed whenever you damage a hero. Sounds simple enough. It's basically every time you hit somebody with Sandblast, you'll keep getting more damage to your abilities. Now, this does work really good with Compounding Ether, and it does work really well with Piercing Sands, because then you can hit multiple people, you can keep the chain going. Now, the cooldown is 3 seconds, so it's pretty fair, and so every 3 seconds you cast it, you're going to be getting a bonus to her abilities. So technically, that did what, 855 or something like that, and you hit him again. If Arthas would stop moving. Hit him again. What was that, like an extra 5 something? Ah, but it works on all your abilities. So it works on Dragon's Breath. I know this doesn't do any damage, and Slowing Sands doesn't do any damage. So you're kind of just relying on comboing these two abilities to try and get that extra percent damage. Which, if you took Bronze Talons as well, every time you use Sandblast, again, when you hit them, your attack goes up as well. I like it. It's okay. I would probably only use it again if you're already taking a Sandblast, build, but the damage certainly racks up. The damage certainly racks up, and I would recommend it probably only if you're going to go with the Sandblast build. Otherwise, there's better talents here. So let's see. In my opinion, obviously. Then we got Fast Forward. So your Sandblast will travel if it goes 75% farther. The cooldown's reduced. So it's already 3 seconds, and if you manage to hit somebody at the far 75% range, which I think is like, probably here or something, then the cooldown's reduced by 1 second, so it'll only take it down to 2 seconds. Now, I don't really like the talent. Um, I guess it could work really well if you go for that range increase and stuff, but you have to make sure you hit somebody from that range or farther, like at the tip or something, and then you only gain 1 second, which could be vital, could not be. Who's to say? If you're doing a sandblast build, I would probably go shifting sands anyway, but to each his own. And quantum overdrive. So you activate it just like what Felstad had. I think they just took it away from him in the recent PTR patch or something. But you activate it to increase your ability power by 25% for 10. So um, if you're going with the Dragon's Breath build, um, basically when you're about to go into a team fight or there's a squishy in the back row and you want to kind of hit them from far away, or maybe you grab that range talent, you activate it, and instead of hitting for, the 1200, and I think that was like 800 or something, let's get them over here a little bit. You can activate it. Oh, wait, I should have done this. Now all of a sudden you're hitting for, what was that, 1400 and 855. So it's pretty substantial, actually. Yeah. Um, yeah, I like it a lot. It's really good. Again, it's 30 seconds, so it'll be up plenty for each team fight or even certain skirmishes. It's not very hard to get, as well as with your combination of some of your other abilities, it's pretty good. You slow them down, you trap them, you get them caught. You're going attacking at like from poking range, and maybe you even went with that increased radius for the 25% damage so you can line it up easier, like after you get a trap. It's pretty easy to hit somebody from there. And then you activate your quantum overdrive and you vaporize them. So again, let's just see how much damage it actually does here. Yeah, pretty nice. Yeah. Then level 19, we've got Pocket Time, so it removes the mana cost from your Slowing Sands completely. And remember how I said that her mana cost is actually on par with Slowing Sands, especially at level 10? That's one reason why I don't take it for that, but it also slows them from 50 to 70%. So now instead of 50%, it'll be 70% over 5 seconds, which is a lot better than what this used to be. But again, the mana cost on it doesn't really matter. You're only taking it for the slowing effect and being able to trap people. Loophole, if it hits all, it basically will hit everybody that's near the initial target. So again, it's good for groups. So if people are all kind of grouped up together and you cast it, it'll hit multiple ones at the same time. Um, I don't really recommend it because it's way too situational. Even if you take temporal loop, you can always go with one of these two, which are going to be really good too, especially past and future me. Um, which I would recommend with temporal loop anyway. But if you're going slowing sands or anything, I don't know. I don't recommend it really. It's way too situational. Maybe somebody will find a good use for it, but at least not in a solo queue environment. Dear God. Um, Past and future me, I'll talk about in a second. But Andoral anomaly increases your charges. So you start with 1, and it's 18 seconds per cooldown. Uh, Let me move that. Um, and it traps them for 2 seconds, and only one can exist. But with this, you can have 3 of them, and then you'll be able to trap multiple people or line them up in a row, which is always fun. So you can stack them so people hit one and then they hit another, and then you can basically just unleash everything you got on them as they try and like flee for their lives. Um, and if you go with um, Chrono Sickness, the cooldown is going to be reduced even more, so you can cast them a lot often. Now, this can be really annoying for some comps, um, and which is why I've been playing around with it a little bit, and it's pretty good. Definitely requires some finesse, planning out where people are going to go, or if there's rotations in a map, such as like Dragonshire or like, you know, even near the chest for Blackheart's Bay, you can load the area with time traps, set up your team to gank them. It's pretty fun. It is pretty fun. Um, However, Let me take a look at this last one here. And we've got past and future me. So huge damage if you can time everything right, and it's really good for a sandblast build. And basically it allows you to cast a version of yourself where you last cast sandblast. So if you're poking away at somebody like in a lane, or you're just trying to dish out huge damage in a team fight from different corners, um, this is huge. And it does more damage as well. So again, what it would kind of look like is when you cast sandblast once, it'll put a sand version of yourself that'll stay here permanently until you use Sandblast again. And when you use Sandblast again, you're casting it twice, once for you and once for your Mimic. And as you see, when I did that again, it laid another one. So every time you cast it, you're going to permanently gain an image of yourself that you can line up for some cool cross shots, deal twice as much damage. If you quantum overdrive it, you're doing even more damage, and it's just pretty cool. And see how she just stays there? It's pretty cool. You can even kind of camp areas with her, or, add extra ganking power. Like if you know somebody's going to come like ahead of time, you can kind of plant a version of yourself, you know, stay in the bush or something, and just kind of like deliver out like full judgment. It's pretty cool. So I kind of go with either past and future me, or I go with like pocket of time, or if I'm really cheeky or the enemy team is very slippery, you can go the Andhoral Anomaly. So those are kind of my recommended talents. The builds we'll have to, kind of pick and choose what's going on here, but otherwise she's incredibly fun. She is very weak in the health department, so she will need protected. That's why some people are taking like the range talents because they need to stay as far away as humanly possible, especially with divers like a Tyrael or an Illidan or Li Ming. You can outrange a Li Ming. That's always good fun. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything negative to say about her except that she can't help with merc camps as well. Um, and her health is just low, but her mana's really good. I don't have any issues with any of that. And, so we'll see. Time will tell. Those are just my builds and kind of my thoughts on Chromie. And I've gone on for far too long in this video anyway. So have fun out there. And this is Aronos saying goodbye and thanks for watching.